Hey everybody, Ozark coming here. So, as you can see right here, the media is now calling to in free speech, and no, that's not hyperbole. I'm not exaggerating. It's not out of context because that's the thing here. They are avoiding the entire context of the First Amendment and free speech, by the way, in order to end free speech. And why? Well, what they call the media, this is the Washington Examiner here, this has been echoed throughout the entire media, and really the media is just the trumpets for the main organizations behind all this, as you'll see. I'm going to try to sum this up quickly and very factually again, of course, so you can see what I'm talking about here. Um, they're using what they call the National Day of Hate on Saturday, this past Saturday, by the way, I believe. They're claiming that a neo Nazi organization, the ADL, or organizations, that's the thing, they didn't really cite hardly any sources. It's very hard to find in the media any sources. It's really just coming from the ADL. And then, by the way, trumpeted and echoed by the government and from sheriff's departments, federal agencies, all of them, all across the country, the media, really just trumpeting and saying the ADL. By the way, this is the same ADL that said racism means something that's done by white people. They made that a definition. They're very anti-white, openly. They've said that it's okay to be white is racist to say that it's not okay to be white. Why? Because they're intersectionalists. They believe they have a right to have an ethnic identity. They believe basically everybody but white people, those of us of ethnically European descent, uh, we don't have a right to have an ethnic identity. So they are an explicitly, openly, and that's the key thing, openly anti-white organization by their own philosophy. So now that we've established that, and the reason that's so important is because, again, they are the source of this. They claim that there was a National Day of Hate, and that now, just like we just recently had the worldwide World Economic Forum at Davos. And no, I'm not saying WF pulls all the strings. The people, everybody who pulls the strings around the world, the globalist powers that be, gather to echo their interest. And one of their main representatives said, "Oh, don't worry, the U.S. will have hate speech laws soon, kind of like Europe. In other words, no more free speech." If it's specifically, especially if you're of European descent and you express any interests that are causing harm, anything you believe is causing harm to your people, ethnically displacing you, anything like that, again, that's called or Western tradition, Western values, Western rights. That will be deemed hate speech. It already is in Europe, and in many ways, and they're pushing it here in the United States. It very specifically says in the First Amendment. This is the key important thing here, that free speech cannot be abridged, by the way. It doesn't just say who or what. No, it says, period, can't be abridged. There has to be a peaceful redress of grievances. Also, a freedom of peaceful assembly. And you have the right to say what you want to say. Now, very often they say, well, what about fire in a theater? If the only reason that should be punished, if you actually believe there's a fire in a theater, again, abridged. If that's your opinion, if you truly believe there's a fire in a theater, if that's your opinion, you have the right to express it. That's why the word abridge is used, just like the word infringe is used in the Second Amendment. Now, if people have opinions, if they be deemed offensive, you cannot stop them. Now, most that they could point out in this article or anywhere, by the way, of what they call, they put all the focus, the entire focus throughout the entire, there's a linked video, by the way, the entire focus is on what they call white supremacy. And really, any pro-white, pro-Western, anything like that is immediately deemed white supremacist and therefore must be done away with free speech. Here's the thing, though. They cite some statistics saying that attacks against Jewish people have gone up. For instance, physical attacks against Jewish people have gone up on the streets, drastically. 92%. I found other sources saying 94%. Let's go with that. 92% of attacks against Jews are by non-white people. Now, counting that a lot of Middle Eastern people, and a lot of those might be from people of Middle Eastern descent, are counted as white. And I mean, really, they're not white Americans. They're counted as that. So that means that if even just a few of those are mestizo and Hispanic or Middle Eastern counted as white, that means that 10 times less than our percentage of the population. We're 60% of the population. So just 6% or so of those, that's 10 times less than our percentage of the population. Because why? Because we know that we have the entire system stacked against us. And therefore, and especially, any attack against a non-white group of person are going to have the book completely thrown at us, because that's the way the system is stacked right now. Now, if you, again, so the stats immediately prove it's not us that's doing this. they do say below here it's a collective interest of different groups, but again, they only point to white people. And the absolute worst offense they can point out is people throwing pamphlets on people's yards. Apparently, when you research this on the internet, the only group, what they call the National Socialist Movement, so some group of drastically overweight people in Nazi regalia, almost look like a cartoonish Hollywood display of what they call, neo Nazis. And then when you actually look again, just start researching this group and everything on the internet. Apparently, there's video out there, and I've seen it. It's literally posted all over the place of the head of the organization, a supposed organization, chatting with FBI agents about having a barbecue and being an informant for them and all that. So apparently, it's paid for them. So this came from the feds through their fake setup group, kind of like Ray Epps and the whole thing on January 6th, where now those people are magically nowhere to be found. Those feds. So this came from the feds through the ADL to be promoted by the feds and the media through the ADL to now call to end free speech, just like they were saying to do that they were going to do at the WEF, at the World Economic Forum. And like I said, you can't abridge free speech people's opinions. Stating an actual intent to harm and then like actual proof that people are about to carry out a plan of harm. That's a different thing. That's an action. Just like if it causes panic in a theater when you knew, that's the thing. They have a burden of proof of proving that you knew that there was no fire there. In fact, they can't charge you for saying those words. That is a violation of the First Amendment. They can't charge you for your words. They would charge you for the following panic that happens, that you knew would happen. And then they have the burden of proof of proving that you knew it would happen. But again, those are for actions, not words. And freedom of speech includes protest and expression. And media, especially media. And we have proven through the Twitter files, Mark Zuckerberg's saying it himself, that there are direct links from the government to this, and then these supposed hate groups are run by the government. Not every political organization, not every pro-Western organization, obviously, is from the government. Everybody points at everything that's pro-Western and says, Fed. Why? Because we're not allowed to ethnically speak up for ourselves. That's kind of a core problem right there. But multi-billion-dollar organizations like the ADL, and by the way, Ben Shapiro threw free speech under the bus here too. He ran with it. I mean, again, a minor internet search shows exactly where this came from. And that literally in all the supposed scary groups themselves said, no, we literally don't know anything about this. Some of them have Twitter accounts and all that, and they post it on there that haven't been banned. They're on there a little while, and then they get banned. Sometimes for dumb, mild stuff. But Ben Shapiro, said everybody's a bunch of pathetic losers for participating in this day of hate, which, again, nobody even knew about, except the feds and the ADL, which supposedly said he doesn't like the ADL, but again, he's running with this. Ben Shapiro himself also said that he doesn't give a good bleep about the browning of America. That was a direct quote from him. So he doesn't care about at least our demographics.